It is a Tuesday afternoon in a grocery store in a city that does not matter. The light is the light of a fluorescent ceiling and a window at the back. The man in the line in front of you is wearing a gray suit. He is buying pasta and a single bottle of water. He turns to look at you, briefly, the way people do in lines. The look lasts less than a second. He turns back, he pays, he leaves. You do not think about the look. You do not think about the eyes. You do not think about the fact that the eyes were not exactly the color that eyes are. You go home. You put the groceries away. You do not think about the man in the line. But you will, later. You will think about him at 3 a.m. for no reason, and the thought will feel like a door opening onto a basement you did not know your house had. This is how it starts. This is how it has always started. The story is not new. That is the part that nobody tells you, and that is the part that should worry you most. The story is the oldest story we have, older than Sumer, older than Egypt, older than the wheel. In the oldest cuneiform tablets, recovered from the ruins of a city that did not last, the scribes wrote down the names of the gods. The gods in those tablets are described in language that the modern reader assumes is poetic, because the modern reader is not ready to take the words literally. The gods are described as long, as cold, as shedding their skin, as having eyes that do not blink the way eyes blink. The scribes, who were not making anything up, because the scribes had no reason to make anything up, called the gods the 7 who decree, and they wrote that the gods came from a place above the sky, and that the gods were here before the humans, and that the gods would be here after. The gods in the oldest story are still here. The story is not new. The story is the oldest one we have. The only new part is the camera. The defector pattern is the same in every story of a hidden species. There is always someone who saw. There is always someone who was willing to say. There is always a hearing that was scheduled, a book that was published, a documentary that aired, a press conference that the cameras showed up for. And there is always, always the same thing that happens next. Bob Lazar said he worked at a facility he could not name on a propulsion system he was told to forget. He said the beings inside the craft were not human. He was discredited. He was discredited by people who were not at the facility and who had not seen the craft. He was not discredited by anything that was itself evidence. He went on a podcast last year. The podcast was watched by 11 million people. The next day, a congressional committee announced, in a hearing attended by 12, that the question of unidentified aerial phenomena was being taken seriously. The pattern is the same. The pattern is always the same. Someone sees, someone says, someone is told they did not see, and the room goes quiet. The question of whether the pattern itself is evidence is not, in any of these hearings, on the agenda. The pattern is in the face. The pattern is in the photographs that have been circulated, the photographs that the conspiracy has pointed at, year after year, photograph after photograph. The face that does not quite match the body. The eye that does not quite have a pupil the way a pupil is. The jaw that, when the light is at a certain angle, does not quite look like a jaw. Skeptics will tell you that this is pareidolia. that the human brain is by design a pattern-finding engine, and that the pattern it most often finds, when the pattern is not actually there, is a face. That is true. That is also exactly what you would say if you were a species that had been hiding in plain sight for 10,000 years, and the humans were starting to notice. You would say, of course, that the pattern was not real. You would say it on television. You would say it with the face the cameras would later study for hours, looking for the pattern the skeptics said was not there. The pattern is in the face. The pattern is in the jaw. The pattern is in the way the light does something wrong, in the right kind of light, in the right kind of photo, on a face that has been on the right kind of screen. The claim that has aged the worst, or the best, depending on which side you are on, is the genetic claim. The claim is this: the human genome, fully mapped in the early 2000s, contains approximately 3% of its sequence as genes that code for proteins. The other 97% was, in the early days of the project, called junk DNA. The word was junk because no one could find anything it did. The contemporary view is that the junk is not junk. The contemporary view is that 97% of the human genome is, in fact, deeply functional, regulating gene expression, encoding non-coding RNAs, providing structural scaffolding for the parts of the genome that code. The contemporary view is that we are, in fact, almost entirely regulation and not code, which is a sentence that almost entirely describes a machine designed to be operated. This is, of course, not evidence of anything. This is not proof. This is also exactly the kind of sentence a species that had engineered another species would write about itself 10,000 years later, when the species it had engineered finally got around to looking at the code. If the species exists, if the pattern is real, if the story is the oldest story we have, then the question is not whether they are here. The question is what they want. The answer in every version of the story is the same. The answer in every version is the answer that the conspiracy has been giving year after year. In every forum and every podcast and every book that the mainstream will not publish. The answer is energy. The answer is the long, slow extraction of something from the population, something that is not money, that is not labor, that is not even attention, although all three are involved. The answer is something older. The answer is the thing that, in every myth, the serpent wants from the humans. It has been given dominion over. The thing is fear. The thing is obedience. The thing is the long, slow submission of a species that has been told, in every version of the story it tells itself, that it was made to serve. The conspiracy has a checklist. The checklist has been passed down, forum to forum, podcast to podcast, for 40 years. The checklist is not science. The checklist is, in the language of the mainstream, a set of post hoc rationalizations for an already held belief. The checklist is also, in the language of anyone who has ever spent a Tuesday afternoon thinking about the man in the line at the grocery store, a description of the thing they have already seen. The eye is the first tell. The eye does not blink. The eye does not, in the conspiracy's language, shed tears. The eye is, in the right kind of light, the wrong kind of shape. the pupil is not round. The pupil is, in some of the photographs, vertical. The jaw, in the right kind of photo, is too long. The skin, in the right kind of light, does not move the way human skin moves. The handshake, if you ever get one, is cold. You will never be able to look at the man in the line the same way again. The conspiracy does not need you to believe it. The conspiracy only needs you to look. The question is not whether they are real. The question is what it would change if they were. The question is whether a species that had been hiding in plain sight, in every institution, in every government, in every royal bloodline for 10,000 years, would be detectable at all by a species that had not yet learned, in 10,000 years, to look. The conspiracy has been right about the photographs, year after year, photograph after photograph. The conspiracy has been right about the pattern. The conspiracy has been right about the way the witnesses are treated. The conspiracy has been right about the questions that the cameras will not ask. The conspiracy has, in a way that no mainstream institution has yet been willing to take seriously, earned the right to be wrong about the rest. You will, tomorrow, see someone on the street. You will see their eyes. You will think about this video. You will wonder. The wondering is the point. The wondering is what the cameras cannot edit out. The wondering is what the photographs cannot disprove. The wondering is what the official explanations have not, in your entire life, been able to reach. The next time you are in a line, look at the eyes of the person in front of you. Look closely. Do not blink first. We will be back tomorrow. New question, new answer. Subscribe and turn on the bell so you do not miss what comes next.